Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement, presented by Barstool Sports. I am your host, Robbie Fox, along with my co-host, Clem, for another X-Men 97 recap edition of My Mom's Basement. We've been doing The Boys with, we've been doing Invincible with X-Men 97. I've got all of my Amazon superhero shows all jumbled right now. But that is finally over. Season 2 has ended. I did see they are reportedly confirmed for seasons 4 and 5. They got renewed. So congrats to the Invincible team. But we're here just to talk about X-Men today. X-Men 97, episode 6. It's Life, Death, part 2. A lot of numbers. X-Men 97, episode 6, Life, Death, part 2. How are we doing, Clem?
We're in a much different world right now in the X-Men world, where we had the Life, Death, part 1 with the Motendo. Everything's kind of like light on the Motendo side. Obviously, Life, Death had a much heavier tone to it. Then last week had like an 8 million ton tone, we'll say. And then this week, all over the fucking place, because you see this on the you see the title and you're like, all right, well, we're gonna go back to Storm now. You're thinking that before last week, and now I'm just like, where the fuck are we gonna go? And I have to say, I think like we just had a bunch of turbulence. The plane like nosedived for like a minute or so, and now I think we're kind of stabling on out again. So it's going to be very interesting to see where it goes. By the way, just because you mentioned Invincible, did I read that they also already have the animation done or the voice acting? I feel like they had one of those.
The voices.
The voices are done. And X-Men season 2, they already have some of it done as well, right?
A lot of the writing, I think, is in the can for X-Men season 2. And yeah, all of the voice acting for Invincible season 3 has been completed reportedly. So hopefully we'll get that sooner than later.
Because that's the real, tricky thing, as we were learning with the Spider-Verse, is you could have one part of it done, not another part. And I think with the way the world's going, you can't just treat your animators like the Godzilla FX team did with Godzilla -1 or whatever. So hopefully we get everything sooner rather than later. And Invincible, we said it last week, we're going to say it again. One release. Put them out weekly if you want to space it out. That's fine. Don't you give us a half time, and we don't know how time works, all that kind of stuff. Also, did you check out Fallout? I will not be upset either way. I just need to know if you saw episode 1 yet.
I didn't, but I got to admit, I'm sort of saving it for, I have a flight tomorrow. So I'm going back to Cancun. We talked about this on the podcast. I was like, I'm going to have all my mahis in Cancun. I'm going back to Cancun like 6 months later. We got a wedding there, friend's wedding. Yeah. It's crazy. I'm upset that I have to miss Rough and Rowdy for it, but of course excited for a friend, going and getting married and whatever. But yeah,
buyrnr.com. Let's get ourselves off the fucking radar.
Large will be replacing me on the call, so look out for that. That'll be fun. And yeah, it's gonna be a great card no matter what on Friday night. All new returning fighters. I just wish I could be there. I wish the wedding was on a different date, but it is what it is. I will be watching Fallout on the flight to Cancun though.
West Virginia, is that where the Rough and Rowdy is? So it's going to be crazy if it's in West Virginia. I will say this, no spoilers, obviously. I am 2 episodes in. There's some violence in this. There is some real life violence. And listen, the boys had numbed me to a lot of violence. I thought I was going to just bail on it. KFC hit me up just completely. It was like, hey, have you watched Fallout yet? And I said, no, I haven't. I am into it because A, the reviews were great, and B, he was kind of saying how great it was. And he's like, oh, you got to keep powering through. Trust me. Like I said, I don't know if I have the stomach for this. It's kind of what I was scared about with Last of Us without giving anything away. And he's like, no, trust me, it balances out. So if you're like me and you're like, I don't know if I could do this, we're going to power through it. At some point in the next month or so, when there's a dead spot, maybe we'll do our little recap. So that's the homework for all the basement boys and girls out there. Get your Fallout viewings and we will probably recap it at some point. Very cool concept, very cool stuff. Never played the video game. So I just wanted to throw that out there, as well as I have a basement boy of the week.
Oh, who do we got?
So it's weird. I'm going to give the basement people of the week, because I don't know who we're dealing with here. Our boy Cameron Ramos, basement boy, I believe potential old basement boy of the week, said that he was on the Boston Tea and he heard people talking about Robbie and Clem in the basement. So I said, those people are the basement boy or girl of the week. We do not discriminate in the basement. basement has all genders, all races. A basement is the place of acceptance. So those people, as well as
the X-Men teaches us,
Yes, exactly. And Cameron also gets lumped into that award as well for reporting it. So, hey, people want to spread the gospel of the basement. You can get yourself a nice shiny basement boy or girl of the week pin, which we will create once we hit 100,000 YouTube subscribers. We're going to go that high. So shout out to everyone out there listening, spreading the word of the pod.
I do have to mention another basement boy of the week, Lord David Snyder. I met him in Philly when I did WrestleMania. I met him, I met his wife, I met his brother, and his brother complained about something you just did. When you smack your desk, his brother told me, he's like, I almost drove my car off the road. He's like, you got to tell Clem, like he almost caused a horrendous accident one day. And I was like, oh no, I will tell him that. I'll try to save a life for you. But yeah, they were great people.
That's very good to know. I think the desk slap always happens in the morning because the coffee is still pretty fresh in me. I have some energy going. So I'll try to keep that in mind for the mornings. The night, my soul has already been crushed by the kids for the morning and the afternoon shifts of the day. So noted, very well noted. All feedback and suggestions, but maybe we'll open a suggestion box in the basement. And it's
I like that.
Clem, stop slamming your desk like a fucking judge and it with a gavel. Fair enough.
I was laughing just picturing him like listening to My Mom's Basement just on the way home from work and just being like, oh. Immediately swerving.
Imagine that. It's like I'm like a digital serial killer. It's like there's been 10 accidents the last month, and every single one of them was listening to My Mom's Basement. What's going on?
They found us. Yeah, they were subscribed on their phone. They're like, there's one thing in common with all the victims. Yeah. One thing I wanted to show on My Mom's Basement this week. Clem has already seen this, but I purchased something for Clem while I was in Las Vegas for UFC 300. With fellow basement boy Jose Youngs, everyone's favorite basement guest. The youngsters rejoice every time he comes on. He hit me up and said, hey, I'm going to the comic book store tomorrow. Do you want to come with me? I'm like, oh my God, I want to come to the comic book store with Jose. It's like going to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory with Willy Wonka. Like, yes, dude, I would like to go to the comic store with you. We went to Alternate Reality Comics in Las Vegas, 5300 Southeastern Ave, 130 Las Vegas, Nevada. Awesome store. They had so much cool stuff in there, like great vibe. The guys behind the counter immediately wanted to talk comics with us when we walked in, him and Jose chopping it up. I bought Superman for All Seasons. I'm getting excited for the James Gunn Superman.
Yeah,
I'm like 1/4 of the way through it. I read one of the seasons. Awesome stuff. Love it. But I saw this floppy and they had so many X-Men floppies. One of the best things about the X-Men 90s comics that are amazing, that Chris Claremont, Jim Lee run, they printed so many of them that every comic book store has like 100 of them. So I flipped through like 100 X-Men comics, probably more. And I found one that looked like it had Clem's name written all over it. And it was this one right here. X-Men with Rogue and in her Savage Land attire and Magneto. Nick Fury's on there. You got another guy over here. I don't even know who that is. It looks like Arnold is Conan. But what did you tell me when I showed this to you, Clem?
So you were like, hey, I got to reveal this surprise to you. You did it on camera. Very well done. Jose, I imagine, was the cameraman. Great content creation by you guys. Tip of the cap. And I said, Bob, I just got to be honest here. I said, I was looking in after our discussion last week about Magneto and Rogue kind of, you could smell sex in the room when they were like panning. I was like, I went back to I ranked some of my favorite comic book covers. And I was like, I went on like online and I almost bought that for myself. And it was like the old, like, this is kind of a horny old man move, buying this comic book of all things. So you have now wiped out the horny man. You cannot be horny if it is gifted to you. Like, unless like when Glenny was gifted the pocket pussy by Asa, it's like, you're the horny guy.
That was a little horny.
That was a little horny. However, a comic book in X-Men, clearly my favorite. I have the new print on the wall right now, the old Jim Lee first cover. That was as solid as you could get. So Basement Boy of the Week as well. The host gets the Basement Boy of the Week as well. We're watering it down a little. Now we have like 7 Basement Boys a week, but I don't care. You deserve it. I almost slammed the desk. That's growth right there. I almost slammed the desk.
That's
right
growth.
To emphasis.
Shout out David Snyder's brother.
I just saved the life. He saved the life. This is the thing I was actually going to mention too. I I kind of this X-Men 97 has the old nostalgia feelings bubbling back. And to be honest, I have a box of comics upstairs that my mom had given me a few years ago when she was cleaning out her attic. And I was like, do I just run through there? And I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to buy some of my favorites. That was going to be one of them. And I was going to do it through eBay. I'm like, no, we got to support the local comic book stores. Jose would like fucking kick my ass if he found it on this ordering. And it's probably from a comic book store or just a collector. It's not from some like corporate, monolith. But I was like, all right. So I was thinking, you had said, next time, maybe we're all in town, we all head to the local comic shop. I mean, Midtown in itself is like a legendary spot in New York City.
Dude, Midtown, Forbidden Planet. Jose's been going to all the New York spots because he lives here now. So he told me, he's like, I would love to go to a store with you and Clem, and we could film a video walking around, him giving recommendations. That's why I bought the Superman comic. I told Jose, I was like, listen, I want to read like a Superman comic that's going to inspire the James Gunn movie. He gave me, every option he could have given me. This one's like this one's like this. And I picked For All Seasons because it's Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale who did Batman The Long Halloween. So maybe my favorite comic ever. It's like right neck and neck with Dark Knight Returns. And I just love their art style. I love the writing style and all that. And I put it on the counter to leave. And the guy behind the counter says, he's like an older guy. He's like, that's one of the best Superman stories ever written. And Jose goes, it is the best Superman story ever written. And they immediately started talking about what they love about it and how it's narrated and how this panel was drawn. And it's just immediate, like, comic nerd bonding. It was so cool to see.
That's the real shit right there, man. I love it. And I just would like this to be known for all the Robbie Fox fans out there. And most importantly, the Fox family, your brother in particular. Jose's the one who planted that seed of when Robbie goes from Batman to Superman. This was not me, diehard Superman fan. This was all Jose and the comic book store that did it. So right now, April 17th, 2024, I'm washing my hands of this. This is not me. And then honestly, when the movie comes out, when Robbie, you look outside Robbie's apartment and in the dumpster, there's all his old Batman stuff. And he's just a super fan like myself. I don't want to be blamed for it. That's all I'm saying.
Someone's got to do the Toy Story meme, right? Me dropping Batman. Like, I don't want to play with you anymore. No. I'll never abandon Batman. But listen, in the end, like when it comes to comics, I'm a DC guy. I really am. The movies, I'm kind of like more of a Marvel guy, I guess you would say. I'm more of a Batman guy more than anything. But like growing up, I didn't even really buy any Marvel comic books. I bought 90% Batman comic books and then 10% like Justice League, Superman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, books like that. It was like all DC. So like, I don't know. I'm rooting for Superman to do well. I was actually thinking about that hypothetical that we talked about a couple weeks ago today, where I was like, do I want Superman to actually be an A+ movie that I like better than The Dark Knight? And I swear I've talked myself into like the other answer where I'm like, yeah, I think I do want it to be the A+ that I like better than The Dark Knight, because then it makes the Batman fans and the hype for the Batman 2 is like, oh, we're the underdog. We got to usurp it again. We got to get an even better Batman movie. So yeah, you know what? I think watching X-Men has made my brain work in like a different way where I'm like, I don't have to drag something down to be greater.
What a crazy concept, right? A rising tide lifts all ships. So my boy Clark has to put the whole universe on his back. We don't have any Snyder cuts coming out about anything. Then that's what he's going to do. He did it fucking in like 1940 or whenever the comics came out, put the whole universe on his back. The funny thing is, I grew up, like when I got into comics, it was because of X-Men. But if I had grown up like 5 years earlier and I had been introduced to comics, like I probably would be a diehard DC fan, because X-Men, that was kind of, they said like, again, that number one that they say is like the one that kind of like put them, they were already huge, but it was like, that was like, oh shit. And it brought in a new generation, myself included. I probably just become like a Batman, Superman. Batman 1989 was a fucking, I remember that came out on video and it was still in theater. And I was like, holy shit, that's how you know a movie is awesome, is when that happens. And I don't know if that's even true, but in my mind, that's what happened. So, yeah, man.
Go back and listen to our commentary of that, by the way, too. That's one of our funnier commentary tracks because it just became entirely focused around Bob, the goon. The whole time we were just like, Bob is the best.
So much fucking fun, dude. So yeah, the DC universe, let's keep it. It's kind of like, I always compare it to wrestling, but it's like Goldberg getting big. It's like, does the NWO fans want that? It's like, well, you're going to get more eyeballs on it, so it can't be a bad thing in the end. And then if Marvel has to then step up their game to get the ratings back, that's a win for all the fans involved.
Hey, speaking of Marvel stepping up their game, let's start talking about X-Men 97, because this is Marvel stepping up their game and stepping it up and stepping it up and stepping it up even more than that. Because this show, I tweeted it today, it has truly exceeded my hype at every level, every turn, every episode. I'm even looking back at like the Motendo episode, and I'm like, even that was brilliant. Like, I'm on this new level with X-Men 97 where I just can't believe how good it is every week. Even the intro, I look forward to the changing intro every week. We got a little change in this, more than a little change in this week. We got like some new scenes and stuff in this week's. Great stuff. Did you like the intro again this week? Are you the same way? Are you like now watching the intro, like looking for everything, looking for every little difference?
All right. Trust tree. Obviously, basement's the trust tree. I mistakenly skipped the intro this week.
Oh.
And I was like, and so then it just goes, and I'm like into it. And then like 5 minutes, I'm like, wait, what happened to the intro? We just doing a cold open? This is what happened. I always skip the previously ons because I think
the recap. Yeah.
It will, if they're giving you shit with like the aliens and, you know, outer space, I'm like, oh, we're going to outer space. I don't like doing that. I like going in completely blank. Then I saw the Marvel animation, and I'm like, I don't like the Marvel animation open. There's not enough stuff, and I see the what if zombies, and I get mad. So I skip that, and because of that, that then skips again. That intro was so good, it makes the skip button almost like offensive. I fucked myself. So hands up. I went back afterwards, watched the intro. My guy Nightcrawler coming in double swords. Nightcrawler's a sword guy like me. I absolutely love to see that. Kurt Wagner, I mean, he's kind of like a freak, a legitimate freak, but hey, us sword guys, that's a win for us. I also saw some kind of fucked up. Someone's like, they replaced Magneto with the explosion because, you know, the X explodes. And I'm like, too soon. Ooh, that's too soon.
That is too soon. Now, how do you feel about the intro kind of doing what you don't like the previously on doing? Because like the intro showed us Xavier and the Empress this week, and that made me think like, oh, we're getting Xavier. And I'm the same way as you. Like, I don't like when we get that spoiled for us, but something about it being in the X-Men intro, I'm kind of like, oh, it's a teaser. Maybe it's just the music.
I wish this is I'll throw this in the X-Men suggestion box for season 2. Season X suggestion box. I was gonna suggestion box. Do that after the episode. So then next week you would put that in, because Game of Thrones, they didn't just throw like a new city in there before it premiered. It was always the week after it, you know, was introduced to the show. I think that's what they should do personally, but I fucking love it. And again, well, how does it even go? Look at us. Who would have thought, huh? Like a month, 2 months ago, we were like, fucking MCU, man. Like, God damn it. We bring up Secret Invasion every episode, which by saying that, I've now kept the streak going. It's like, I can't believe how a cartoon, and like, let's be honest, I love the 90s vibe of it. It is kind of like, if it was like really good, fucking awesome animation, it would make this even better in a way where I do love the 90s, don't get me wrong. But if we had some cutting edge shit, we'd be like, holy fuck, and the animation is through the roof too. They're just copying off the old stuff. So it's incredible, dude. I am on cloud 9. And as someone that's been like banging the drum on the X-Men, I'm just so happy. Like, forget about like thriving. I'm just happy they didn't fuck it up, right?
Yeah. And we start this episode with, I don't want to call him one of your guys, but kind of one of your guys. We got Ronan the Accuser.
But
listen, he's not one of your guys, but he's from one of your movies, your franchise, you know? Like, I didn't expect to see Ronan the Accuser in X-Men 97. That kind of made me be like, oh, shit. And he's in his comic costume, like the total green.
And he got the hammer, too, so it's like... he's a guy adjacent because he's Guardians. Yeah. I love Guardians. My only, like, I think one of the biggest flaws of Guardians 1 that makes Guardians 2 better is that he kind of just stinks as a villain, you know? Like,
yeah.
So that was my biggest.
We call him the snitch.
On this podcast. Ronan the snitch. Ronan the snitch. I have in the notes, more like Lonan. I mean, the guy is taking L's every time he fucking turn around. It's unbelievable.
But yeah, they do that massive space battle. Ronan versus Deathbird, the Shi'ar versus the Kree. Deathbird, when she steps on Ronan's face with the high heel and it fucking even goes into his cheek a little and you see the blood, that was pretty brutal. I mean, this show, we say it every week, it's a little scary for kids. Between that, the adversary doing her crazy shit, there's some there's some adult themes, adult scary shit. I mean, even like the conversations between Charles and the Empress in this, no kid is watching that and being like, I love the X-Men. That's for adults.
So, I mean, this is how you know it's for adults. So last week I tweeted out a thing. It was like, did you see the little ad they put on Twitter? It was like, visit Genosha and everything. It was after the episode aired, mind you. And it was like all this, it was all the touristy stuff from the beginning. It just seems like a nice, fun place. And I was like, no. And then some fucking Mama Luke said, hey, Clem, I'm sure they're not like targeting this for the 30-year-olds. And I go, tell me you haven't seen this week's X-Men without telling me you haven't seen this week's X-Men. Then he hits back with, oh, like it's a kid's show. I was like, so then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to go back at this guy. Then I'm like, oh, he deleted all his tweets. That's how you know when the fucking idiot Twitter trolls who don't know what they're talking about go back and delete the tweets. That's how you know I was fucking right. Because
Attic Boy of the Week.
Attic Boy of the Week. In the attic. Throw him up there with he's wetting the bed with Fuller, man. Get the fuck out of the basement. That was one of it was such a satisfying moment because I'm like, dude, I'm not here to argue. Like, first of all, this show is clearly written for me because like the guy who created basically said it. Second of all, the creator also said this is basically the 9/11 and the Pride shooting of the MCU. It's like very bad stuff. Very like I would just tell my kids we're not going to watch this episode if they weren't already scared of it.
Yeah, it's out there. It's adult. It's for us.
And can I also say this too with this space stuff? This carries to what I was remember like reading in the comics. I would go to the back issues and because I think it was before I started reading this Marvel shit with the Supreme Intelligence and these crazy storylines. They must have been on those crazy 70s drugs when they were issues. There is some fucking out there stuff. And I know when you're going in space, you kind of have to make it crazy. And I do think the way they brought it to the big screen in Infinity War and Guardians is a lot smoother than I expected and why I was kind of like not looking forward to it. But man, this shit makes no sense if you didn't watch the old seasons either, because you really have to watch the Screen Crush 35 minutes, 74 episodes or whatever, because this shit, if you didn't watch the previously on, and I don't know how much of the heavy lifting the previously on did, they did some wacky stuff going out in space. And this is why I really didn't enjoy those storylines in the comic books.
It feels like the writers dipped into like the Eternals drugs. Like they partied with the Eternals team and Jack Kirby, and they were like, you know what? We'll take some of that. We'll throw that into our X-Men. And then you have this Supreme Intelligence who's like a massive floating head with all the fucking wires in it and everything, which we saw in the Marvels. So it's like kind of interesting to see in X-Men 97 how the different pieces work with someone else playing with them. It's something from the Marvel, something from Guardians, something from X-Men. They put them all together here.
That's a great way to put it. And you do love the crossover, even if it's not the heroes crossing over, even if it's the locations. Like if they went to nowhere, I'd be like, oh shit, they're in nowhere. Yeah. That'd be very cool. The cartoon does have like, especially with the 90s animation, they do have the advantage of like, this feels like I'm in a comic book right now, which is very cool. A very cool thing, all things considered.
So the Empress comes out in front of all the Shi'ar people, and she says that Xavier is not only healed a year after he's been taken in, they all joined forces to help heal him. He has unlocked the secrets to her heart. Our boy Charles, we were talking about what a smooth talker he was in First Class. I think that extends to 97. Unlock the secrets to her heart. That's big.
I'm going to say something out of pocket here, but I say it from a place of love. Is it fair to say that Charles Xavier can be a swooner and he's not using his telepathic powers for evil here? He's just, a wordsmith. But there's a chance that he has that good dick. Because I'm telling you, man.
Yeah. I never thought about like what he could use down there,
yes.
But like he must.
Or he has that good tongue. He doesn't have to be the dick. I'm just saying. Like,
can he even if he can't like use it down there, can he just telepathically be like, ooh?
Yep. Hey, I mean, Jesus, the guy fucking can like bring him to the astral plane. I would hope he could just, do a little Viagra or something down there. So I have to just.
Or maybe he doesn't even have to. Yeah, maybe he just brings you to like an astral fucking orgasm.
Well,
this is why you listen to My Mom's Basement, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. No other nerd podcasts are having this conversation.
She says it herself too, Bob. She says you can bark later. We learned.
Oh yeah,
he's barking. I mean, I don't want to commit any federal crimes here, Dog collars. It's in the Barstool universe, and it's in the Marvel cinematic universe, the X-Men universe. We can say that Charles has a fucking dog kink. I don't know what's going on. All I know is my guy is making it work. He has this lovely, nice woman like on a throne, and she's like, do I leave it all for him? She's gonna make him leave it all for her. She has fucking she's swooning over him. She's
gonna make him emperor. She like tells all the people like don't have a great reaction to it. They start like whisper and murmur, and they're kind of like, oh fuck, this fucking human is gonna be. He's kind of the Meghan Markle of like the Shi'ars. They're like, we ain't about this. He's not here for the right reasons.
Whispering, Bob. Whispering. There was no whispering going on. She's called it his Milky Way ghetto. She called our
ghetto.
Our universe.
That was crazy. Yeah.
our galaxy. She called our galaxy a ghetto. She goes Simeon. He comes from Simeons. They called his fucking love juice inferior fleet fluids. Inferior fleet. I can't even say it. I'm so fucking flabbergasted. Inferior freak fluids. All right, it's been done. I was aghast. I felt what the X-Men feel like when they're called mutants and I'm like, fuck you guys. The Milky Way is perfectly great. It's not a very good candy bar. And the fact Danny Conrad didn't have a chance to win the chocolate draft when he drafted a fucking Milky Way is disgusting. But it's a very fine galaxy.
I like a Milky Way. Sure. Let's be fair. I like a Milky Way. And Milky Way Midnight is even better. Milky Way.
No. Did you just... Oh, Bob.
Milky Way Midnight's one of the best.
No, we're not going to give dark chocolate love on this podcast.
Oh, dark chocolate's
great.
You
don't like dark chocolate? Stop it. Bob, I'm not that old. I'm not old enough to like dark chocolate at this point. Come on.
Oh, I've been getting the ShopRite Bowl & Basket dark chocolate with the fucking with the coffee beans in it. Oh, it's so good, Clem.
And with every word you say, listeners fall through your fingers. I don't know the Princess Leia line, but you're only hurting your cause. Milky Way, there's only one time where I'll ever want a Milky Way. And it's when I'm watching This Is the End, and it's like the only thing left, and they're just like, I want that fucking Milky Way. I'm like, that's really good. And then I will usually, I say, the once every like 2 to 3 years I watch that movie, I end up getting a Milky Way some point like the next day, because I'm like, man,
but other than that, Midnight is a go-to for me. That's a top 5 candy bar I go to if I'm at Dwayne Reed or something.
Top 5? Top 5?
Yeah.
Top 5?
It's like Kit Kat, Twix, Milky Way Midnight.
That is straight up the 2 mean dragons and the cross-eyed dragon meme. You just said it. You just said it in verbal form. Verbal mean yourself. Oh my god. Yeah. Milky Way ghetto. That's Bob's case buds, basically.
No.
Jesus.
Also seeing Xavier with the mechanical legs, like I'm happy for him. I'm sure it's great. It just doesn't feel right when he's walking out. He's got kind of like a Thor type helmet too in this episode, especially later on. It goes over his face and everything. Kind of has the wings. Just seeing Xavier like that, it's like, bro, I want to see you in the yellow chair in a suit. That's like who you are. I want to see your bald head. If I can't see your bald head, what's the point?
They magic legs, Lieutenant Dan. That's the first thing I thought of. Like, they made Lieutenant Dan's legs were made on this in the Milky Way ghetto with the inferior freak fluids is how we reproduce down here. But I appreciated they were at least gold, so it was kind of his chair in like walking form. And I don't know if I could make fun of the headgear because that might be like racist for the Shi'ar.
True.
That's the other thing I actually
like their owl thing.
Yeah, exactly. They're bird people. And listen, I'm a bird person as well. So there's nothing but love here. Nothing but love across galaxies. But it is kind of weird. I also remember when I read the comic books, there were so many apostrophes. It's like Shi'ar and Siandar, and they all, Deacon is her brother. It's like there's just way too many apostrophes. If they had cut down on the apostrophes, like 30% even, I think we would have had a much better reading experience. So I'm just going to say that from the outside looking.
Let's tell the people about Game Time now. You can go see so many great concerts this summer, especially at Citi Field. It plays near and dear to Clem's heart with Game Time. There are so many great bands coming to Citi Field, from the Foo Fighters to Blink-182 to Foo Fighters to Green Day and the Smashing Pumpkins and Rancid all in the same show. I can't wait for these shows. I will be attending them with Game Time. That's right. Thanks to Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, you won't have to worry about buying tickets to your next big event. They're the fast and easy way to get your tickets to sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have flash deals for sudden discounts, zone deals when you're feeling a little flexible, and their lowest price guarantee means you can find the same seats less anywhere else. They'll credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time is the best place for last-minute seats with up to 60% of your favorite events. What are you waiting for? I'm going to buy those Foo Fighters tickets very soon. I need to get them soon. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code MMB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you, Game Time, for sponsoring the show. We really appreciate you guys. And we appreciate you for all the tickets and discounts over the years. It really does make buying tickets easier for everything.
Let's make a Game Time pact right now. First ever Game Time pact on the
Game Time pact.
basement.
Let's do it.
This is it. There's a chance. I just happened to look this up. I heard on the radio and I was like, oh shit. Stevie Nicks and Billy Joel are throwing a concert together. And I'm like, oh, are they on tour together? I'm like, let me get tickets.
They've done a couple dates, I think.
They have one in Soldier Field the day, I believe, after the dozen tournament ends. So if we make the finals, the Honkers and Team Zini.
Oh, yes.
Pact has been done. The Game Time pact. Shake it. Shake on it virtually right now. We're shaking on it for those who aren't on the YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube, the Rumble, everything else. Stevie,
that'd be a great finals. I'd love that finals.
Yeah, and then
Basement Boys in the finals. That's like our Basement Boy of the Week, like Sam Lauderdale, Lord David Snyder. They would need like the Mama
Frank,
Kelsey jersey.
Like you see, yep, yeah, exactly.
Frank, yes,
yeah.
We would need to get like all of the top Basement Boys and former Basement Boys of the Week. We'd need to get them the Mama Kelsey jerseys.
I will say this: Sam Lauderdale showed up to multiple dozen tournaments live, and he rocks their Clem VP shirt. There was one time he told me he was going to have to help the Yak if they faced us, but I think his Yak ties have been broken a little bit. He's a ZD boy, so you get him out of ZD Mafia, Bob. It's a blood oath. Once it's taken, I can't promise you're going to get him back, but yeah, it will be the mega powers could explode, especially after the fucking shot you took at us. Telling Jeff to stop glazing us. All he's saying is Team Zini gets slandered for easy questions, easy schedule, hardest schedule in the league, and we've won the crown twice.
You don't need to say that during our match. It was Honkers versus Gen XYZ. He opened the match by talking about how hard your schedule is. I was like, what the fuck is this, Jeff? You're talking about how hard Dave's schedule is? Come on.
Just an announcer, just looking at the standings, being like, man, that team, they gave up the crown for the good of the league because we were gonna potentially kill the league, and then we got the crown back. It's we are the story of the seasons right now. Some would say it would be like just ignoring all the stuff that's been going on, with Professor X. It's like we have to talk about it.
All right. Speaking of Professor X, let's get back into the X-Men. Him and the Empress are talking about the X-Men themselves, the team, what his life was like back on Earth. He's kind of missing the X-Men, but there is part of him that I think is like, yeah, I miss him, but I'm on vacation right now. I don't need to watch my kids. It's kind of nice. Like, he misses them, but he's like, I don't need to go back there, though.
That is my wife and I'll be like, we'll look at our phone and be like, oh, remember this when Sienna was like a baby? Or, look at AJ. And then it's like, yeah, but we're not going anywhere. It feels so good right now to be away from them.
And Storm, the actual life-death that we expected to go back to, the storyline and everything, she's trying to rid Forge of the infection he's got on his shoulder. It's making its way to his heart. We know that there's this plant grows in darkness in a cave. We could go and get to that and stuff, but the adversary sends Storm through this crazy nightmare hallucination sequence. Very scary. You see different versions of the X-Men when it becomes like the X-Men's face, Beast, Wolverine and shit with the crazy teeth, crazy eyes. That's some creepy shit. And Forge uses some Doctor Strange magic to get the adversary out of there. I thought that was cool too when he starts doing the fucking.
What do you about this? The Shaman Supreme right there.
Look at that. The Shaman Supreme. I like that. Yeah.
And I appreciated that they kept that consistent with Doctor Strange's magic, because I'm sure it's all the same magic, no matter who's casting
using the same books, right?
Yeah, exactly. The adversary, just an asshole, just an absolute asshole. I do not enjoy him.
Interesting though, voiced by the actress that voices Storm in this episode. So they have it's like a sick, twisted monologue of Storm's own voice.
I like that. That's a very cool. I would like that if the adversary is like a legit like inverse of Storm in the comics. I don't know if that's the case, but at some points I'm like, this is getting a bit wild and crazy, which I think I'm gonna just have to get used to. This is how the X-Men's gonna roll. But when they went back and took the X-Men and kind of like, remix them and turn them into these like crazy little looking monsters, I was like, that's comic booky right there. That felt out of an X-Men comic book in particular. So very cool shit. You know what I'm actually realizing as I'm talking about this right now? That intro, that changes every week. What that is, it's the upper left-hand box of the comic book, and it tells you which characters are in it. That's what it is. They fucking did it. Wow. Oh, God, I fucking love this show. I love this show. I love this franchise. I love Marvel. Feige did it again. Trust the Feige is back. I almost slammed the desk again. Credit to me.
We'll talk about some Feige stuff after we talk X-Men. That could be big Feige is back stuff. We'll tease it for that.
A little teaser for everyone.
The evil sister, the Deathbird, shows up at the wedding of Xavier and the Empress, and she challenges him. She's like, I want to challenge your loyalty, send you through whatever test. You must renounce Earth and erase all of your memories to show that you're loyal to our people. And he struggles with it. They talk about it back and forth, but ultimately he's like, all right, I think I could do this. Like, I'll show my loyalty to you, whatever. They go back to Storm for a little bit. She realizes she's like more than her powers, and she fights back against the adversary. This I thought could have been handled a little better, to be honest. It was the one aspect where I was like, all right, she realizes she's more than her powers. She's got her powers back. She, finds the plant that grows in the darkness, and she's all good. The new costume, the long hair, A+, looks fucking awesome. But there could have been just maybe one extra scene of like her discovering who she is without her powers and embracing that, and then her getting him back. It was just so quick.
I did feel a little rushed. I'm wondering if they just have so much shit they have to cover. They're like, we're just going to handle this story. To be honest, I don't need much more of the story. Like, you're going to give me 10 extra minutes. So it's like, I'm with you, though. But we got there. The new outfit, which now means next week, we're going to get the new outfit, the hair, all that kind of stuff. You were all an echo of who I am. Let them thunder for I am lighting. I'm like, oh, Storm. That is bars. Fucking bars. So we're learning a lot about the leader of the X-Men. I mean, again, last episode was a tough one for El Ciclopes. But before then, he's had his fucking moments. He's had his sweet powers. He's had his lines. He got two fucking redheads who are fucking do whatever it takes to get with him. Our girl Storm here, dropping bars on people, new outfit always. She's going to have new outfit powers, too. I feel like you get like you have that new outfit, like it's like a new car. You just feel better about yourself. She's going to be lighting some shit up here for a while, but that was an all-time great line. I love that.
And then we go back to Xavier, and he like pretty much says like, I do to renouncing Earth, and I do to renouncing all his memories. And then they're like, do you renounce the X-Men? He's like, fuck. I can't renounce my X-Men. Such a bro move. I didn't know there's girls in the X-Men too, but just such a one of the boys move where he's like, nah, I can't. I mean, I can't renounce the X-Men. And they're like, he hesitates, and Deathbird tries to fucking get him renounced. And she's like, renounce my sister too. And then she goes at her sister. And this fucking gladiator guy just punches the fuck out of her. Like, it was crazy to watch. I know, superheroes, it's like, I guess some guys could hit girls and it's different, I guess. But my first reaction was like, how can he slap? I was like, oh my God, how can he slap?
The go broke Disney boys are crying in their fucking their unknown ears right now. She didn't
even lay a hand on him. She just went at her sister and he went boom, hit her into a wall. I was like, whoa.
That was it was gnarly. That was some gnarly shit. I did not see that coming. Respectfully too, the Shi'ar, they're a bunch of bitches. I've had enough of these guys already.
The worst.
I appreciate them bringing, Boss Man back to health.
Xavier, yeah.
Whatever. He did his part 2, save the universe. Everyone's, but like, and Deathbird, the name, like, was Taserface taken? Yeah. Like, come on, that's enough. That was fun. And like, you're the first, like, I don't know, there's like the best warrior always named Deathbird, because there's no way you're the first person in the fucking bird, culture to come up with the name Deathbird. So I've had enough of her. I've had enough of her people. And my boy Chuck, took him to class. He
took him to class.
Took him to school.
Chomping on an apple. He's like,
And then he's like, enough out of you, Deathbird lady. Throw an apple in her mouth.
Boom, shut her up with an apple. That was crazy. I had that in my notes. Shut her up with an apple.
I think we got an answer. If Charles can, turn his fucking dick fucking into a working object. Yeah, he can throw an apple in someone's mouth on the astral plane. Stun on him, Chuck. Stun on him. It was incredible. Oh, but it was like you said, when he's like, do you renounce this, that, the other thing? Do you renounce like 72 degrees sunny days? Like, I renounce it. That's the time on, what is it, Terran or whatever? And then they're like, but the X-Men, I would have loved like a little montage in his brain, and it's him and Wolverine just kicking back, watching football together. Him and Beast like doing like complex equations. I would have loved just him broing out, just thinking of all the shit he does with the boys. So that would have been fun. And the line that got me, evolutionary war. We're not talking revolutionary war. We're talking evolutionary war. God damn.
A lot of good shit and a lot of stuff that I was impressed by. Their ability to like not retread the same lines, but retread the same message, of acceptance and why is one thing have to be better than other. It's a silly thing. It's like the X-Men has done this for fucking 74 episodes in the original series. We're 6 episodes into this one. We're 80 episodes in. They're pretty much the moral of the story is the same every time, and it's still fresh. It still feels good. It still feels new. It's really impressive how they're able to do that. Shuts Deathbird up with an apple. The Shi'ar, this line was fucking bars as well. The Shi'ar Empire is a snake oil racket.
Oh.
When he said that, I was like, oh my God, you can't say anything worse. A snake oil racket about your empire. Teaches him about equal rights, coexistence. But then his globe fucking spins out of control. It's like, what's happening? Everyone turns into skeletons. And then you see a massive sentinel-sized Gambit. He's like, Gambit? Gambit also turns into a skeleton. And he starts somehow seeing what's happening. He's like, no, they were all dancing. They were all fine. And then passes out.
They were all making love. Let's call it.
Oh, yeah, he did say that. He said they were drinking wine and making love, right?
They were dancing, drinking wine, making love. You overstepped your boundaries, Charles. You're the dad with the psychic powers. You can't be going in and peeping on your kids, being like, "What's going on in that bedroom?" You close the door, Charles. You don't watch. Even if it's your boy Magneto with Rogue, close the door. Socks on the door for the reason, Charles. You sick son of a bitch. I'm telling you, Charles is kind of a sicko when you think about it now. He's kind of a sicko.
Kind of a sicko for that. Yeah, I didn't even really put that together in my mind. But yeah, the X-Men, as we said previously, they're fucking constantly.
Yeah, exactly. I've said this on Podfathers. It's like kind of a weird thing to talk about, but it's the truth. Like, when AJ is older and the door is locked and he's a teenager, that door is not being like broached. Like, let them handle their business. Same thing with your children, Charles. That was a weird fucking line. I wish he had kept it in his pocket. But again, you can bark later. Charles gets fucking down, and so do his kids. Yeah. They're going to be, Charles will be like, where did you learn that from? I learned it from watching you. That's an old 80s PSA right there. That's
my mom Charles. Always will hit me with that. Yeah, she hits me with that reference. When I'll like smoke weed in front of my dog, she'll be like, who did you learn it from, Faith? I learned it from you.
I bet there's times in the X Mansion where they hear like, oh, and they're like, oh, it's supposed to be on one. And no, it's Charles and Moira getting down and dirty.
At the same time that he is kind of figuring out what's going on in Genosha and saying, I must return to my X-Men. I can't abandon my kind. Storm is putting some like goop shit in Forge's wound. She turns the TV on. She sees it. And she's, shaken up by it. They end the episode on Charles being like, it's time, must return to my X-Men. And then it feels like there's a post-credit scene. Even though it's not mid-credits or post-credits, the final scene just feels like that. You see Trask like running away and being like, I gave you my DNA to access Master Mold. What more do you want from me? And then we see Mr. Sinister, Mr. Bad, Mr. Evil. He's back. And he's like, Genosha was only the start. This is the next phase of whatever the fuck he says, extinction. So we'll get more Mr. Sinister, although many people believe he is not the true big bad of this season. A lot of people think we're going to get Apocalypse because Apocalypse has been teased in the opening with Cable. So we'll see, but another great episode.
Yeah, I've been reading that a bunch too. And if you don't want to even hear this, you kind of like me, you don't want to like know what's going on, skip 5 minutes and we'll get into the news. But I'm just going to say, like, I have heard that, and it's him, Apocalypse, Mr. Sinister. Bastion is a dude. I don't really know much about him. And then people are saying Gambit could be one of the horsemen of death potentially. I don't want to fucking fight like an undead Gambit or
Oh,
some
that
shit.
sounds metal to me, though.
Sounds
That sounds
pretty
metal.
Yo, imagine a fucking zombie talking to you in Creole with some fucking poker references on your ass.
What's up, fellas?
Ain't no Texas. Ain't no Hold'em. So we are going to a potentially very interesting place. And that scene when Gambit becomes like a skeleton, that's very comic booky as well. You can put that on the cover of a comic book or kind of like the big oh fuck moment of the comic book. So yeah, we're gonna get some crazy shit coming up.
I wonder if Cassandra Nova's in play. Like, we're the Deadpool villain who is like, the unborn but then born twin of Charles Xavier, a woman version of him. Because like I saw some people that thought the Watcher was her last week. I think it was the Watcher, but I think she would be cool to loop in as well.
I saw some people saying they think that they changed her part of the storyline to Mr. Sinister, and we might get her in like a lot. No, Deadpool, right? Is where they're saying she's going to be. So that would make sense. Or I mean, hell, just there's also ways where this is going to just parlay right into Deadpool, even though our boy having spoilers think this is going to parlay into the post-credit stuff from the Marvel. So whatever it is,
Beast was in the lab coat, looked very similar to the 97 outfit, attire, all that. Yeah.
I also have to, for anyone that didn't watch the originals, or even if you did, I don't remember this at all. Go to the YouTube video. It's called Apocalypse Quotes. I should have sent this to you before just to get your thoughts on it. Apocalypse is like low-key. It's kind of funny how ridiculous he is. So you have to just watch that and be like, this is, I don't know if they're going to change him at all for 97. He's pretty he's a fucking ancient being. So some of this stuff could just be serious. Just check it out is all I'm going to say. It's not like the Juggernaut bitch kind of stuff, but it is very deadpan. And I would kind of like to see that be the character moving forward. So I think we're going to get the big A man. We're kind of they're just laying all the cards on the table with the big fellas. I mean, we're only halfway through the season or a little bit more than that. It's crazy that we could have all three of Magneto, Mr. Sinister, and Apocalypse playing a role in this season.
All right. Before we get out of here, I have a few very quick news items that we can go through. The first of which made me laugh, but I am genuinely a fan of this idea. Disney Plus is going to be adding live channels to their programming. Sounds a little bit like something we know as cable. But yeah, they said they're going to add channels for things like Star Wars and Marvel. YouTube TV right now, I'm a YouTube TV guy, and they have a Walking Dead channel where it's a 24/7 Walking Dead loop. And I watched Walking Dead back in the day when it was on, and every now and then I'll like to see if it's on season 2 or season 3 or something early that I watched and I remember. I like going back and hopping into a marathon at a random point. I love doing it for a show like The Office or Parks and Rec or Seinfeld, where you don't have to be I'm going to watch this in succession. You're just I'm going to hop in at season 5 and watch the next 3 episodes. And it's fun like that. I love watching movies on cable. I know people always joke, why would you ever watch a movie on cable if it's on Netflix? It's I don't know. Sometimes I like commercials. It's a opportunity to go grab a snack or go to the bathroom. So as one of these people, I know that this is ridiculous and I'm applauding them for just redoing cable, but you're crazy if you don't think I'm going to be watching the Star Wars and Marvel channels at all times.
I hope that they are listen, in order to get this feed into the house at the HD level where, we strive for, you have to get it, a wire installed, run by a train, and they literally just have the physical version of cable come back. Has to be on its own separate box.
Yeah. You could put, they're we're going to put a clock on the box too. You're going to have the time on there. Yeah.
It's I got this illegal box and it gets you Disney Plus and Prime for free. So there's a lot of ways this can go. It's fucking time is a flat circle. Absolutely hilarious. I'm with you, Bob, on that one for sure. I also have to.
You still have cable, right? Or have you cut the cord?
Listen to this, Bob. I was early on cutting the cord. Had YouTube TV for years, and then YouTube TV. They took away my Knicks. They took away MSG, so I didn't have MSG.
And they don't have Yes, which is
they don't have Yes, so the Yankee fans. And then I was like, you know what? I could figure it out. I could find other ways, wink, wink, to watch the Knicks, right? Then they took away SNY. I'm like, well, I have a fucking Mets podcast. Trust me, I should have been thanking them for taking away the Mets at the end of last season. But then I was I had to go. I do a DirecTV stream, which is pretty good. There's really not a lot of options if you want to watch either Yes or SNY. That's one of them. There is some interface stuff. I was cursing up a storm last night like an old man because I couldn't rewind 20 seconds. However, I have to say, Pluto TV, Bob, Do you know about Pluto TV? Have we talked about this on the
You've
podcast
told me
before?
about Pluto, yeah.
Okay.
I think we
So
have.
as long as I've gone on my rant about it, it's absolutely incredible. If you're a fan of that kind of stuff, Bob says about certain marathon kind of like watching, where you still have the commercials. We do it when we go on vacations with friends. We'll turn on the challenge from MTV. It's the old ones when it was awesome, ridiculous stuff. And the commercials come on and lets you go to the bathroom, kind of just like go back to living life. Has the challenge. It has Jersey Shore, Amazing Race. They have Price is Right, then Price is Right the Barker years. So you go Barker. We got Trebek on Jeopardy. We got Wheel of Fortune. They have all these cops. They have all these like classic shows. Free app. It's incredible. I'm giving free plug here. No free ads, I know. Pluto TV. Incredible for the experience Bob wants if you don't want to pay for Disney cable or whatever the fuck they're going to call it.
My next news story is the one that I teased before about Kevin Feige. Potentially some moves from Kevin Feige that I love. One that I really love, one that's just like kind of a wild rumor that is going to become a meme immediately. The meme one is that he's in talks with Sydney Sweeney about giving her an MCU role, which like, of course he is. After Madam Web, he's like, no, I'm sorry that they treated you badly over there. Like, come over here, Sydney. We have a role for you. She's going to be Black Cat, I'm sure, in the next fucking Spider-Man or something like.
Dude, that picture of Black Cat where everyone compares it to her, you almost have to. It's almost offensive if you didn't.
She's like made for that role. Although I was going to say that maybe there will be a little confusion because she was in Madam Web, but like, no, I don't think there. I think people will be like, nah, we'll forget that happened.
I'll find a way to put it past my Bruce. Just give me Sydney Sweeney on the big screen in a movie I actually want to pay like $15 to watch. That's all I'm asking.
Real.
Why was she made for that role though? Why do you think she was made for that role?
Because she's got blonde hair and her face looks just like the character.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think you're right.
The real cool Feige news story that I really hope is true. He's rumored to be in talks with Sam Raimi to direct Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. So I know everyone wants Sam Raimi to come back and do a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 4. But like, if that's not going to happen, or if even like that could happen, but it would have to be a Sonyverse movie, I would rather this. I would rather you give Sam Raimi the Tom Holland street level Spider-Man movie where allegedly it's like him and Daredevil and possibly Ant-Man fighting against Mayor Kingpin. This shit sounds great. The one worrisome thing is that the movie starts shooting in September and there's no director attached, which is making a lot of people be like, so like, is the director not going to have any say on what's going on? Like, do you just need someone to be a supervisor? Like, that's weird. But if it's Sam Raimi, I don't see a world in which you don't give Sam Raimi like his style, his creative voice. They did it with Multiverse of Madness. Some people didn't love it, but like that was a very Sam Raimi movie, and a lot of the special effects and a lot of the camera shots and the zooms and stuff like that. So I hope that's true.
I saw you freaking geeking out about it, and I said, Bob's geeking out about it. I'm 100% for it. I don't really care either way. But again, Bob's in for it. I'm in for it. I thought you were going to go with that quote about the person where they're like, is Taylor Swift Dazzler in Deadpool? And the guy was like, I can't answer that question. I'm like,
yeah,
you could easily say no to that. So that's why I feel like it's going to happen.
Yeah. I don't know. That's another thing that I hope happens, but like, could they keep it under wraps? Could they actually keep it from leaking? I don't know. And you could say they haven't, it leaked or whatever, but like, has it? I don't know.
Yeah, Kelly Keys is blogging like everything that's happening every single day for this album release. There's no way she shot a fucking blockbuster movie and it just not one person was able to like sneak it out. So I'm with you on that. You're probably right.
And then my final news story, Pruitt Taylor Vince has been cast as Jonathan Kent / Pa Kent in Superman, James Gunn's Superman. Now, this guy, I don't know from a bunch. Like, I saw that he played Otis in The Walking Dead. I think I watched those years of The Walking Dead. I just don't remember it because I watched it when it was live. But I saw Robbie Goochman tweeted like, oh my God, James Gunn cooked with this. Like, this guy never misses. So I texted Gooch this morning. Hey, said, hey, we're going to do My Mom's Basement. I don't really know much about this guy, but I saw you were excited about it. Why don't you tell me why? What's he been in? And Goochman had such a funny response. He was like, oh, I have no idea. I haven't seen him in anything. I just said that because he's a big fat guy. He looks like he's from Kansas. I was like, oh, all right, respect. I said, I'll mention that, Gooch. He said, yeah, I think there's 100 of those guys at the Kansas State Fair every year. I was like, God damn, you're right. And then he texted me. He's like, yeah, he's like Kevin Costner. He's like, great guy, but like, do you buy him as a normal Midwestern man in that movie? I was like, you're making fucking great point after great point here, Gooch. So I'm with it. Yeah, this guy definitely, he looks like a random guy from Kansas.
I'm looking at his like IMDb, and just it doesn't look like the original. That doesn't look like my Mr. Kent personally.
The one you
from
grew up
Nebraska.
with.
Yeah, from all my years as a super fan. So I have to say, I feel like they're changing it up here. This guy feels like he would have been in the Ravagers. That he has the face of a Ravager.
I could see that.
I will say that, right?
I
Which
think he was in Gotti too. I went on his IMDb, and one of his most recent movies was Gotti. I was like, ugh.
he was in Stranger Things, and I'm like, all right, let's cook here. And then it was like some random scientist that I don't remember a thing about.
Yeah.
So kind of,
I trust James Gunn with casting, though. That's one
yes.
thing that he is like. Even in, I feel like there's certain James Gunn movies that people don't like or trash on, like Guardians 2, which is, we've talked about on the podcast. Crazy if you don't like that movie. But even that, like casting Kurt Russell as fucking Star-Lord's dad, like this guy don't miss.
He don't miss. He don't miss. Trust the gun at this point, right?
Trust the gun. Trust the gun. I will trust the gun. That could be a hashtag for this week. Trust the gun. But you got to do two ends, because if you do one end, I'm sure that's a right-wing hashtag already.
Yeah, Second Amendment bear arms.
Yeah. And I had one, it's not like a news story I really wanted to talk about, but I was just excited to see Seth MacFarlane, I think last night, said he has no plans on stopping Family Guy. And as someone that uses Family Guy as my comfort show to like fall asleep to every night, I'm stoked about that. Also, Family Guy is still great. Like if you watch the newest season of Family Guy on Hulu, I guarantee you'll get a lot of laughs.
Yeah, still pumping them out, huh?
They're still pumping out good episodes.
I've heard The Simpsons has turned the tide, where I don't think it's nearly like the first, 10 seasons or whatever, but they're saying like everyone that grew up with the show has kind of brought back that vibe over the last, 5 or so years.
I've heard that too, that it's like very watchable at this point.
Yeah, it is one of those things I have to admit. Like, I don't even think about watching The Simpsons or Family Guy, but there's something comforting about knowing they still exist somewhere. And when that day comes when they stop, it will kind of be like, oh, fuck, like I'm just kind of I'm bummed out that happened. So,
thankfully, both of them, I mean, especially The Simpsons, but at this point, both of them have so many episodes where I feel like it's enough for a lifetime to like rewatch, and you can never get tired of it.
A constant loop of rewatchability. And I'm old enough to remember when Family Guy, they took it off the air. I remember loving it. And then it came back because the DVD sales were so good, because that's what we were actually used to watch it back then. And I remember being in college and we would just watch them and just crack up for hours. And then someone at Fox was like, oh shit, seems to be that everyone loves this fucking show. Why do we cancel it? So kind of like the XMen at some point, right? And look at this.
There you go. It's full circle. And hopefully they bring back Spider-Man, and we got all of that 90s superhero universe back. We'll get Captain America at some point. What are there, 3 episodes left? Like, he's showing up soon.
Bob, that's like, this is the culmination of the basement right here. Your boy Cap, my guys, the X-Men. We're fucking, there's peace in the base, peace in our time before the great DC war of 2020.
Is Cap gonna like bridge that gap between humans and mutants, where he's like, no, I'm standing up for them. They're just like us. And people are like, oh, I listen to Captain America.
Yeah, I'm a superhuman.
Yeah.
He's like the leader of the humans. That would be gnarly. Fuck, I don't know if I'm ready.
I wonder who's going to do his voice. I wonder if it's like, did they have Captain America in the 90s? I think he showed up in an X-Men era and a Spider-Man, at some point. But I don't know if they'll do the same voice. It'd be kind of cool to hear Chris Evans do his voice. I don't know if they would do that.
Who's higher in your rankings? Spider-Man or Cap?
Great question. Growing up, I was more of a Spider-Man guy for sure. I was never a Cap guy till the MCU. I feel like that's most people. Cap.
Same with me and Iron Man. Never liked Iron Man till the MCU.
I think Spider-Man is slightly higher, to be honest. As I'm thinking about it, like Cap is my guy through the Avengers movies and his own movies, but like Spider-Man was there for me when I was like 3 years old, and Spider-Man is still here for me.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's probably that.
And Tom Holland is crushing. So it's like, it's
crushing. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Even like, I still stick up for No Way Home when people trash it on Twitter now. And they're like, oh, you could tell it's a COVID movie. Never more than 2 people on screen at once. Like, shut the fuck up. It's a great movie.
Yeah. Oh, we got Angry Bob by the end of the podcast. Yes. I didn't mean to bring him out, but he's here. Folks, I can't put him back in the cage.
See, that shows him a real Spider-Man guy. You start coming at my guy, Peter Parker. I'm like, shut the fuck up. And even the Spider-Verse movies, like, Spider-Man is just Spider. How could he not be number one Marvel?
And I mean, going back to those COVID times, like, you know, we did, at least in the beginning, we were talking ourselves into Captain the Winter Soldier. I do think you will wear this Cap movie being terrible if it truly is. I don't think you're gonna. And granted, it's not the Cap that, you know, made you a Cap fan back in the day, but
I think it's gonna be good though. See, Harrison Ford, you know, we know the line from CinemaCon. Apparently, someone walks up to him and is like, "New look," and he's like, "Yeah, they told me I had to shave the mustache or I wouldn't win the election." It's like, all right, you're doing the Iron Man 2 thing where it's like you're acknowledging the recasting by not acknowledging it.
So I like that, and I also like that you've already like started your bullet points on your. You're basically the shield. You're the adamantium shield for Captain America, right?
All right, everyone. Hashtag trust the gun. 2 ends again.
Two
hashtag
ends.
Trust the gun. And we'll be back next week to discuss another episode of X-Men 97. I can't wait.
Enjoy your mahi mahis down in Cancun, Party Bob.
I will.